Nelson coming at you live from Seattle, Washington, bringing to you live the LJL semifinals match between Rampage and Unsold Stuff Gaming. We're going to be getting started in just a couple of minutes here, but let's take just a couple of minutes to talk about some of the teams that we have available. Let's start with Unsold Stuff Gaming. In the top lane, we do have Oppamen. In the jungle, we have Neo. Mid lane, Fate. ADC Already, and support NT. This team is currently second in the LJL standings, just right behind Detonation Focus Me, who's been a dominant team in the Japanese esports scene for the past several years and has been an absolute monster in terms of all their different games, sponsoring people from games including Smash, Heroes of the Storm, League of Legends, and a couple of other teams as well. But they've been around for a long time. But back to Unsold Stuff, they're doing a very good job maintaining a record of 8-2 on the season, and they're going to be taking on Rampage today. Do you want to take us through that, Zen Zen?
Absolutely, Joshy. In the top lane for Rampage Gaming, we have Evi. In the jungle, we have Tussle. Mid lane is Ramune, AD carry Yutori Mayasi, and support Dara. I believe he's a player actually from Korea. Is that correct?
That is correct. He has been around for a little while. He's been making quite a name for himself ever since he moved over here to Japan, being one of the more successful supports and, you know, one of the harder carry supports as well. I like to compare him to someone like Edward back when Moscow 5 was still a very strong team. Just being able
Or
to...
like a Mad Life.
Exactly.
Uh,
I don't know if I'd give him quite that much, quite that much credit yet, but you know he's doing his best, and he should be making a good show for us today. Um, Previously, these two teams have played each other twice before. Just like many other leagues in the LJL, they do have a double round robin between all the teams. It's just 6 teams, so it's a slightly shorter season. But in their previous records, they are 1-1 on matches. But Rampage does have the game lead, 3-2. So that's what's giving them the little bit of the lead in the standings right now. The first time they played each other was in week 4, where Rampage
right.
took a very, very quick victory over the 2 games, or should I say, very slow victory. Their 2 games were very long. The first game lasting 68 minutes.
Woo!
68 minutes, but there are only like 40. There are less than 40 kills in the game, so it was a very
Wow.
slow, very drawn-out game, and it's something that we've seen a lot of times when both teams are just afraid to engage because they both have so much gold. They're both at full build, and there's not a whole lot that they can do because if anyone is even slightly out of position, it can instantly mean the game. And that's exactly what happened at the 67-minute Baron fight when Unsold Stuff Gaming just stepped slightly out of position, ended up getting aced for 1, and that was it. The next game was a little
Right.
bit faster at 43 minutes, but it did also go to Rampage.
Yeah, and it's tough always, playing in those situations, trying to keep your cool. It sounds like Stuff Gaming, maybe that's a bit of a weakness for them. Not being able to pull the trigger the moment that they need to clench out that victory.
Yeah,
Rampage able to take that over in the last series. We'll have to see if they'll be able to do that a second time and
yeah.
advance into the finals.
Absolutely, and here we go. We're getting into some of the fantastic openings that all the leagues have started doing, especially after we saw it coming out from LCK, OGN in Korea, with all the crazy things that they would do as their players would walk on the
All
stage.
right.
Japan takes after their older esports brother quite a bit, and you know all the slow walks as they move forward into everything. And here we see a couple of the players coming forward. Rascal Jester was playing a couple of days, or I believe they play tomorrow for their spot in order
Mm,
to stay in the LGL going forward. But they
yeah.
should be good. While we
This,
got this thing going on, let's talk a little bit about their set that they played in Week 8. Um, Week 8, the first game, and this, well, it was a much faster game, or series overall between the 3 different games. A 40-minute, 30-minute, 33-minute. You know, they're still decently long games, but they're nothing like the 68-minute monster that we saw the first time.
right. And, over the course of a long LGL split, these players will improve. They will get better. Their times will get shorter. They'll start to understand the game a little bit better. And it's always great to see, especially players in the professional scene, make that improvement,
Mm.
step up their game,
Yeah,
and continue
absolutely.
to improve over the
Yeah,
course of an entire split.
if we just take a look, unfortunately, due to the way that streaming works, we are going to have to mute the stream, so we can't hear the beautiful voices of our Japanese co-casters at the moment. But we we did see over the course of like the last series, the number of kills that went on in the final series were relatively low. The last game ended with 12-5, with almost all of the kills being on Remind Syndra on Unsold Stuff, who is unfortunately no longer with Unsold Stuff. He has since been replaced by Fate, who will be starting for them in this series today.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how Fate performs, especially in this sort of high pressure game. We've only seen him in 3 games during the LGL. And so, it looks like he likes to play sort of roaming champions. He's got this, he played Echo, he's played Talon, and he's played Aurelion Sol competitively. But outside of that, we have no idea what this guy is capable of. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing what sort of tricks he can pull out and maybe surprise Rampage.
Yeah, absolutely. And he had a very explosive game on that Aurelion Sol, ending the game with a 13-0 KDA, dying I believe only once over the course of the entire game, just managing to take control and really do what he needs to for the team. Let's talk about a couple of the other players on that team for Unsold Stuff. Probably our most standout player on the team is going to be, I believe it was the top laner. The top laner, Opperman. He's got a lot of games here on a couple of tanks, but they haven't been his most successful champions historically. Well, he's got 5 games on Maokai. He's only won 1 of them, but his Singed and his Poppy have been really taking off for him. And Singed isn't a character that we tend to see all that often, except for, of course, Looper playing it whenever he feels like it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's always exciting and interesting to see people have these we call them pocket picks. They have these champions that they are known for in the community that they can pull out at the last minute, and maybe aren't common in the metagame, but are strong enough when this player brings the champion to the table that they can really put pressure on their opponent. Mm-hmm. And Singed is one of those champions that is just so good at split pushing that if your team doesn't have a dedicated answer to the champion, sometimes entire matches just fall apart just having the champion in the game.
Absolutely, and this is interesting. They're showing information for Remind again. I wonder if they ended up bringing him back to the team after Fate's performance. Fate had a good performance. He won 2 of the 3 games he played in, but I wonder if there was a medical emergency that we hadn't heard about, and Remind is just now coming back, which is fantastic for the team. They're more used to the player. He's been playing with the team for the entire season now, plus a little bit longer. But he does have a lot of games on simply 1 champion.
Right, and so we would expect if Remind is playing in the mid lane, so that Syndra ban will likely come out at least at some point during this best of 5 series. Going into a lot of these games, you want to take preparation, you want to take stock of your opponents, see what they are comfortable on, and then try to bump them off of it as quickly as possible, and make them play the game you want to play.
And here we
so
go.
Rampage will look to do that.
We're going to get into picks and bans. Very quickly, we're seeing 2 bans coming out. The Iron ban on Rampage side and Unsold Stuff on the red team is going to be banning out that Malzahar.
Now, Joshi, do you happen to know which patch these 2 teams are playing on? Are they still on the previous patch?
I believe they're on the current patch. I believe it has gone live on the tournament realm, but it's very possible they are still playing on 7.5 previous to all the new changes that we saw. I don't believe Galio is on the patch regardless. Since he's so new, the competitive scene has had a long history of not allowing the rework champions onto the Rift, for the first couple of times, especially right before a major tournament like this during their playoffs. It would be a shame to see such an explosive champion just have such a large impact on it.
Yeah,
we're getting we do see a couple of other bans coming through. The Thresh and the Graves coming out from Rampage, and the Rumble on the side of Unsold Stuff, and the Kha'Zix is going to be the last ban. A lot of bans targeting the junglers today.
Yeah, and it's always interesting, ever since Riot Games implemented this new 2-tiered ban system, where each team gets 3 bans, and then halfway through the draft phase, they get to do an additional 2 bans. We've seen a lot of different strategies evolve for tackling the draft phase. Typically during the first phase, both teams will try to ban the champions that they think are most overpowered. And then during the second half, they'll try to pinch a single player's champion pool to try and put them on an uncomfortable champion to get an advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do see that the Lulu pick coming out, a very strong champion. Dara has not played that champion in this matchup before, but of course, as such a strong player, I'm sure he'll be very comfortable with it. He doesn't have a lot of games with it, but then again, Lulu hasn't been much of a power pick until the last couple of patches either.
Absolutely. And I mean, really, the big change that brought Lulu into stardom is the fact that they started, in a couple previous patches, Malzahar and Zyra were all the rage. And then most recently, those two champions got a little bit nerfed. And so the sort of AP support mage wasn't available. And Lulu happens to be this incredibly powerful Wind Speaker's Blessing champion that happens to outpoke all the other Wind Speaker's Blessing
Hmm.
uh, characters, and so you bring her into the bot lane, and she just really puts a lot of pressure on the opposing bot lane.
And this is very interesting because both these teams' mid laners are huge Syndra players. Ramune actually ends up going to be picking that up. Has a half of his games on the season played on Syndra. Overall, 9-1 on that champion with a 6.9 KDA throughout the series or throughout the entire season. He's really strong in that, but it's also something we know that Remind enjoys playing. And to see that Unsold Stuff is going to prioritize the Lee Sin and the Varus over that Syndra, which is by far Ramune's signature champion. It's very interesting to see the priority coming up. But we do lock in both our bot lanes, and the mid laner for Rampage, and the jungler, presumably, for Unsold Stuff.
Absolutely. And now going into the second ban phase, USG wants to target ban the jungler even further, going ahead and doing that Rumble or Rengar ban. They know that they've already selected Lee Sin, so they're not worried about potentially picking up another jungler. So they're going to pinch him a little bit, and they're also going to pinch the top laner out of RPG. Conversely, RPG is looking to eliminate mid lane champions so that Remind has as hard a time as possible against this Syndra.
Absolutely. And we do see, this is interesting. There are, let's count them up. There's one, two, three, four, five meta junglers banned. So we're going to see whatever Rampage thinks is the sixth most meta jungler for their team to play. Historically, for Tussle, this has been Rek'Sai. But
Yeah.
we'll have to see what they end up doing.
I could definitely see a Rek'Sai or perhaps even an Elise if they pick up a tanky top laner. Might be able to pick an Elise and go for a pick composition where you try and uh, catch somebody out with a Syndra Ball or an Elise Cocoon, and then go ahead and burst someone down really quick and generate an advantage that way.
And
And it
there you
is look
are.
like that's going to be the case.
That is the Elise, and that is a fair amount of magic damage coming out for Rampage. It'll be interesting to see what will come out as their last pick. They are lacking a little bit in physical damage. The Lulu often will, ensure the Lucian stays alive for a long period of time, but the Camille already off the table. It'll be interesting to see how they fill it out, and it looks like it is going to be a Tom Kench.
Um, okay, interesting. I can respect this. Now, I'm actually really curious. I believe this means RPG is going to move. It's either going to be that or the Tom Kench top lane, which is not something that I've seen in recent patches. I'm really curious how this is going to work out.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that Tom Kench does pretty well against. Oh,
I
the
don't know.
Katarina though.
It'll be difficult for Tom Kench to deal with that Katarina, but dealing with Nautilus won't be too bad. Tom Kench has had a love-hate relationship recently in the Japanese scene. He has been played a lot top lane, but also the supports are really big fans of him. He's received at least a little bit of play. This is not the first time that Eddie has played Tom Kench, even in this team matchup alone. But he's been played several times by NT on Unsold Stuff. He's been played a couple of times by Dara on Rampage, and so he's definitely a champion that they play, but he's essentially
Right.
one of the champions they pull out towards the end when they can't seem to find something else to play. But here we go. They're getting those high fives ready, and we're gonna be getting right here into game one. This is a best of five between these two teams, and the winner of this series is going to be playing up against Detonation Focus Me, the reigning champions of Japanese League of Legends.
Yeah, I'm super excited for that match as well. Really see the pinnacle of the season for these players. They really want to be here. They really want to make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
Whew,
Absolutely.
man.
And I know I've mentioned this several times, not necessarily to the audience, but definitely to you a couple times. Yutori Moyashi is not his name. I'm sure it has to be a reference to something, but I don't know what it is. And that would be, someone who's a good example. We were mentioning this earlier, like Benny, back when Vulcan was a team that was still around. If he just went by like George.
Right. It's so but that these players, there's a reason behind that.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, it must be like
Uh,
Reginald back when Andy Reginald Din was still a player. He's like, what's the ugliest name I can think of?
oh my
Reginald.
God.
And then he became known by that for years, and he was so upset by that. But here we go, all these players coming out. Wonderful camera work coming out from the Japanese crew. But here we go, game one of the semifinal. I wonder
Yeah.
what are you expecting to see in this first game between these two teams?
Well, I think that the team in terms of composition are pretty evenly matched. I do think that USG will look more to have a straight traditional 5v5 team fight. They have a lot of good engage tools with the Lee Sin and the Nautilus, and a lot of AoE damage between Varus and Katarina,
Yeah, here
as
comes a
well
level
as
1 fight. Dar's getting caught out a little bit by Anti and Heretti. Lots of damage going. The Ignite comes through, and he's forced to flash out. He does make it out with his life, but Ignite for Flash.
yeah,
Oh, just
a
don't
little
connect
bit
with it.
weird
Yeah.
there. I actually really like so what RPG was trying to do there. They know that Zyra at level 1 likes to stand in the lane to generate plants to get a small advantage. So RPG, knowing that, they run up to the bot lane to try and harass her a little bit and poke her out. USG
Mhm.
actually uses this as a bait uh, and ends up forcing the flash on Lulu.
Yeah, that was really impressive to me. It's like, I know you know that I'm gonna do this, but I know that you know that I know we're gonna do this, and I'm gonna punish you for it. Next, we'll have to see the even stronger thing, and we're gonna see something like Rampage bringing an entire 5-man to counter gank that 3-man that they make up at the very beginning. But look at all these Thunderlords in this patch.
Yeah, right. Really, really strong Keystone. Although I do think Riot has done a better job in recent patches doing their best to balance these Keystones. Previously you used to see basically Thunderlords on every
Uh-oh.
single champion.
Aiming off him, already trading level 1. I wonder what he's going to do. He does use the tongue, gets the grasp of the Undying proc off, and does get a little bit of health back, but that's not a good trade for Evie overall. He's going to lose out a little bit off of that.
Absolutely. And Josh, I want to take a second and talk about the level 1 starts for both these junglers. This is something that we've seen happening more recently in professional play, but it doesn't really translate into solo. Because the Raptor camp spawns 2 seconds quicker, it spawns at 138 instead of 140.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Players have been starting that camp instead of starting their traditional buff, and giving themselves a little bit of an advantage. And it takes a little bit more coordination because the junglers do take additional damage,
Mm-hmm.
but it does get them to that level 3 much faster.
Yeah, absolutely. And it doesn't even cost the mid laners. A lot of damage coming here onto Remind from Ramune. Again, once again, for a character like Syndra that you give to Ramune, it's like I said, his signature champion. He's had half of the games in the season played on that one champion. You're gonna have to be careful exactly how you play it. But looking at these teams once again, I think we're gonna see a lot of attention paid here to the bot lane. Now, normally this is because both Heretti and Yutori are some of the stronger players on these two teams, having really stand-up performances in some of their previous games. Ugh, excuse me. But also because Dar's Flash is already down, I would be very unsurprised if we saw a lot of jungle attention. Here we go, Opperman gets that cone down, but he's not able to spot out Tussle. I don't believe that they know where he is, and this could potentially be very bad if they do choose to do something off of that.
Yeah. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Neo looking to support Remind. Ramune just doing a really good job of punishing Remind every single time that he goes in CS. As soon as he's used his dash, Ramune just charges forward with the stun
Mm-hmm.
to really try and put some pressure down
Yeah,
and will
absolutely.
force an early back.
And taking a look at the bot lane, we do see an interesting adaptation over the past couple of patches where a lot of ADCs have been opting to go for the longsword triple potion for the extra sustain that it provides in the early game. And we did see some of these ADCs taken very low already. Earlier was at only a third health after taking a lot of poke from Yutori and Dara. But now he's all the way back up to full health. And here comes Tussle, trying to get a little bit of advantage for his team. He's going to be spotted up at that ward. I don't expect anything further to come from this. But that is information for Unsold Stuff if they do choose to make a play elsewhere on the map.
Yeah, unfortunately for Neo, that information isn't going to help him out too much since all of Rampage's jungle has already been cleared, so he's not going to have an opportunity to counter jungle, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tahm Kench is a difficult champion to gank. It does look like they might be trying to go for something a little bit cheeky since they saw Elise on the bottom side. Just getting a lot of warding down, hopefully catch him out a little bit later. But that is, we said there wasn't a whole lot of advantage, but getting those wards down right now with the pink right there next to the mid lane outer turret could manifest into a much larger advantage later on.
Absolutely. And it's always great to put in really deep wards. The sooner that you can see your opponent coming in a direction, the better off you're going to be when a gank happens. Mm-hmm. And so I really like that adaptation. Even just knowing that Elise is on the bottom side of the map allows you to make that play, right? You know that you're not going to get surprised in the jungle.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And, going back a little bit, we just saw Evie in the top lane playing that Tahm Kench. I'm just sad that we're not seeing the sushi chef Tahm Kench. This is LJL right? After all.
Classic mistake.
Neo and Touch are going to find each other in the blue team jungle. There is Anti there to support, but looks like they're just going to get out. Not looking for anything too big at this point, but look at the CS lead that Tussle has built for himself over Neo already.
Right. Part of that is, I believe Tussle did manage to do a second Raptor camp because Elise has a little bit of an easier time with the AoE damage early on, as opposed to Lee Sin. He has been able to get that advantage. Neo has also been moving a little bit less efficiently in the jungle, trying to find ganks like what he's doing right here.
Absolutely.
Going to sneak his way up.
This will be difficult. They potentially wasted their prime opportunity now that Dara does have his flashback up. All the summoners are up in the game right now. And without quite knowing, they are going to spot out Tussle in just a moment. They see him right now, but that is potentially an opportunity wasted.
Right, absolutely. USG Neo just going to go ahead and take the Scuttle Crab. Again, sit here in the middle. Not quite level 6. Tussle has hit that level 6 benchmark. Lee Sin would really like to get access to that Dragon's Rage before he makes a gank.
Coming in from behind. Lee Sin is there. There's good damage going on to Remind, but it's not going to transition into anything right now. Without knowing where the enemy top laner is or the enemy jungler, it's a little bit difficult to really push that advantage that you got in the mid lane. And we're going to start seeing a lot more movement around. And even there, they know Tussle throwing that stun into the bush completely blind. They know they don't know where the other members are. They could be anywhere. And as we saw from a fantastic flash a couple weeks, I believe it was a week ago, from Elise, they have to be very careful because they don't have a defensive gap closer.
Oh, but here comes Tussle. He walked through a pink ward. There's the pings away. Will they get out? It looks like it. She's just going to be happy to pick up that pink ward and move on out of there.
Yeah, and we're seeing a back cycle come up. Evie's starting to get the better of this lane right now, getting a lot of damage. The Grey Health will heal up if he's allowed to do it. And yeah, he's very smart, not popping the Grey Health to use for the shield. He'll be able to pick up most of this CS pretty smoothly. And we are starting to see CS leads, however small they are, starting to come out for Rampage in all of the lanes right now. Neo has caught up. It's only a 5 CS deficit right now as he spent a lot more time farming. And exactly like you were saying, Neo was looking for ganks earlier in the game. Now is Tussle starting to do it. But this could be very dangerous as your mind is starting to move towards the bottom lane. Yuturi is going to go aggressive. Koling's coming out. A lot of damage onto Heretti. He already used his flash. He misses the ultimate. He is caught up, but the Lulu ultimate wild growth is coming in. Anti is in very big danger. One more shot, and that is going to be a double kill going over to Dara. Opperman is caught out. He used his teleport. He already uses a flash, but there's not enough damage left. They're not going to be able to take him out.
Yeah, Remind just sort of caught, unfortunately, too far behind enemy line. Move quickly enough to join the fight, and fantastic aggression from Yutori, Masai, Moyasti, and Dara. just really abusing the level 6 power spike. They got up there just a second too early. Entry did not have access to his key ultimate to disengage.
Mm-hmm.
Just really smart play.
Absolutely. It's a little bit unfortunate that the 2 kills will go over to the Lulu here, but as far as supports go, Dara is a good one to have, and we're going to get a replay of this right here. The Culling gets a lot of damage, and he's not able to actually escape from any of it with that flash, and being able to flash over by Utori of that ultimate is going to save a lot of lives. Opperman goes for the flash, but he does miss it. It looks like he ends up hitting a minion with the Dredge as he goes in, but they could pay for it with this Infernal Dragon.
Right. Now, knowing that blue team had to go back and spend their well-earned gold, they're going to look to sneak this. But oh no, they got the vision. Will they be able to get there in time? It doesn't look like it. Neo secures an easy Infernal Dragon.
Absolutely, and Infernal Dragons are very powerful. I'm sure everybody knows, the different dragons. All the dragons are very useful, especially at this level of play, but Infernal Dragon, everybody can see just how powerful it is. Oh man, I was really hoping the plant from NT would steal that. That would have been fantastic, but here we go. Dara opting to pick up the Ionian boots really early in this game.
Yeah, I like that choice. Being able to move a little bit quicker shots out of Heretti and NT. Get more glitter lances and more polymorphs off in that lane. Try and snowball their lead. And now it looks like blue team head and take over this bot lane with threatening a 4-man dive. Don't actually need to do the dive to secure this turret.
Yeah, absolutely. So many people down here. Neo, now that they see Syndra in the mid lane, are able to move up a little bit and secure some more of this CS. With your mind heading down, this could be a big turn with so many summoners down in the bot lane. Actually, all of them. It could be very explosive very quickly if anyone steps even slightly out of position. But remind here, slightly out of position as well, getting the pink wards down. But that could be very explosive between Syndra and Katarina. Someone's going to die very quickly.
Absolutely. And I want to take a moment to talk about how intelligently Rampage has had set up this play. They didn't quite finish off the turret, but they were able to make that play because if you look at USG's jungle, it's all warded up. Rampage had 3 pink wards placed between the jungle and mid lane, so that Remind could not possibly get in there without being seen.
Absolutely.
Really smart stuff to just know where the champions are and punish them accordingly.
It is, and this is going to be big. Tussle is still here. He's been here for the past several minutes, mostly soaking experience. Ooh, all those eggs are going to slow things down, but here comes Evie's teleport from behind. He did get the cancel earlier, so he's going to be able to get something. He starts getting the tongue onto Heretti. One more, he's going to be able to gobble him up. NT already goes down, and here comes Heretti.
No flash.
Yeah, delivered directly into the enemy team. Remine's looking to pick up some exit frags, but I'm not sure if he's going to be able to do it. With Neo there as well, this could be a big trade.
Yeah, those two can't approach from that angle. It's too dangerous. And actually, because Neo and Remind are sort of zoned off of this area, Utori and Muyasi will be able to get a few additional attacks on the second tier turret.
Yeah, absolutely. With the first turret gold going over to Rampage, they're probably going to trade it back to the top lane. We're going to see Evie try and do it. Not even half of the turret gone down. Here comes Evie trying to get a little bit. He gets some damage down onto Opperman. He's going to have to eat him up in just a moment, get the percentage health down. He doesn't do that. He's just going to keep going with the stun and all these different auto attacks. He's going to slowly grind it out, and with the gray health not even doing anything, this is a fight I like to see. They're just going to sit there a long time. Opperman does have his ultimate available, and there he goes. Waits for the gray health to go down. He's going to turn it around. Devour is going to go for Evie. I don't think Evie has the damage, and there we go. Oh, no.
Has to flash away. Oh, but he dodges with the minion.
That's the second time Opperman has done that by hitting a minion with a dredge line and missing a potential kill because of it. He doesn't lose his flash this time, but that was a long fight. And especially now that Evie has a little bit more items, picking up that Bomby Cinder, he's going to be able to win those trades next time. He's down a little bit of CS, but with a kill up, it's not even going to be close in terms of the amount of damage these two top laners do.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting too because Evie, I feel that he went going into that fight. Both champions, Nautilus and Tom Kench, were really well matched for one another. They were doing just about the same amount of damage to one another. But what really turned the fight was the fact that in order for Evie to really damage Opperman, he had to walk into a full minion line, and those minions had been hitting him for the entirety of that fight. And even though minions don't normally do a ton of damage, even just 25, 50 damage every auto attack, if you're sitting there for 20 seconds, that can be really significant and change the fight this low and early in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. As we start to get to level 10, they are starting to get much tankier, so we're likely to see much less of that. But here we go. Tussle does get a little bit of damage down onto Remind and Neo in the mid lane, and with nothing holding them down there, Dara and Yutori are going to be able to move up. With the next dragon spawning in a minute 20, I believe that is another Infernal Dragon that's going to be coming up pretty soon. This could be very good if RPG is able to do something about it. Uh-oh.
Oh, Neo has to be careful.
But with so many members, there's 5 members of Rampage are coming here into the mid lane, and it doesn't look like there's going to be much contest right here. But Oppaman has something to say about that. He's going to come around the back. Neo goes for something cool, doesn't quite get it, and he's going to take a calling to the face as Yutori moves forward. Or Evie is trying to find Oppaman a little bit on the side. He does find him, but he's found an entire team behind him. All the damage is coming in. The wild growth comes out. Remind is caught up with no zonies left. He's going to be taken down very quickly. Dara is also low. Evie and Dara, slivers of health, just barely able to back out of that fight. After so much going on, the stun comes back from Ramune. Just get off of me as they're starting to move around. But a one-team fight for Unsold Stuff with such a large deficit right now could be very big, with the dragon spawning in 20 seconds and the mid lane virtually uncontested.
Yeah, I want to give huge props to USG Enti. Really won the fight by himself, just a single Zyra ultimate. We saw him knock out 3 members of Rampage, totally disengaging and preventing them from making anything happen.
Absolutely, and we might see round 2 here just without ultimates. Yutori is getting a lot of damage onto that mid lane. This could be really big with the dragon already alive. It is another Infernal. There's so many members here, but Evie has had the chance to go back to base and heal back up. Dara, unfortunately, has not, and with so few ultimates available, this could be a huge deal. They do get a pick onto Tussle. Lots of damage going down. The depth charge goes down onto Ramune. He's taken low, and Tussle is going to be gone. This should be an uncontested dragon. Remind's going down with the blade of... I don't even remember what Katarina's ultimate's called, but he gets a little bit down a bit onto Ramune, and they are going to be able to take the dragon, but they might end up trading it for this mid lane turret if they don't roam correctly. There goes Ramune, caught up by the dredge line, stunned up. That is going to be a kill going over to Enti. Now it's Evie's turn. He's going to have to run away from the rest of the team. Remind is jumping forward to him. Not a lot of damage going down onto Tom. He's still got the gray health available. That is 2 kills going over to Unsold Stuff and a second Infernal Dragon.
Yeah, Rampage just being a little bit greedy there. They really didn't want to give up their advantage, but as soon as Tussle is out of the fight, there's no way that you can contest that dragon. There's no way that you can continue to contest it. And they do end up sacrificing Ramune, paying for that little bit of overstep.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that you just kind of have to think about. It's like, you don't have to do it now. You sure can get the gold from the turret, but the turret's going to be there when you come back next time to Siege, and if you're giving up gold, they still have a small gold advantage, but the 2 Infernal Dragons are definitely starting to even that out, and you can't continue to give up those objectives like that.
Absolutely. And I want to talk a little bit about the changes in AD carries recently, because Heredia is doing something a little bit interesting. Prior to this current patch, lethality was a very strong stat to have, and so we saw a lot of poke champions with a ton of lethality coming out from the bottom lane. Varus specifically was really well known for just insta-giving people. However, on this current patch, with lethality being nerfed, he has instead opted to go for that Blade of the Ruin King tank buster build, which I think is a strong choice against the likes of Evie's Tahm Kench.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do see just the difference right here in the items that they already have. The Blade of the Ruin King into the Black Cleaver on Lucian has been very common, both in the competitive scene and in solo queue recently. And he's already got the Phage. So he's a full half item up on Heredia right now, simply from the assist he's gotten and the 50 CS lead he's already built up for himself. And that could potentially be the story of this entire series, as Yutori Moyashi is by far one of the strongest ADCs we see in the Japanese scene, and able to just keep all those CS for himself, be very safe with his life. He had a in the past 2 sets that these guys have played each other, he's died only 5 times.
Wow.
Over 5 games. And, you know, if he can continue keeping that up, just having a massive CS lead, a massive lead in gold over his opposing ADC, you know, people joke about ADCs in 2017, but when you're super far ahead, hey, any champion can kill you, right?
Absolutely. And we see USG looking to get some key wards down in the jungle. However, without solid vision on all 5 members of Rampage, decide against it. Just happy to push Tussle a little bit further out of the lane.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do see that turret is still standing on Unsold Stuff Gaming's team, so they're gonna have to, Rampage is gonna have to put a little bit more effort into taking that down, and we're starting to see the laners move around. Now, this is quite common. We often see in the competitive level, as soon as turrets start to go down, you move into the mid game. You don't stop laning, you just change where your laners go.
You're completely right. Blue Team Rampage wants to move Lucian into the lanes that have the easiest turrets to take. So that's going to be, they just picked up the one in mid lane. Next, they're going to want to move him to the top lane. AD carries are primarily in the team composition. Get that easy damage onto turrets. You don't have to stand in melee range to do significant damage. And so that's likely the objective that they're going to look for next. They may instead try to win a fight in mid lane and then take the mid turret. But it's going to be one of those two.
Potentially, yeah. And we do see, I think Unsold Stuff is thinking on similar lines to we are. You're going to start wanting to move your AD carry to wherever the existing outer turrets are. And, if Utori does the same thing that he's been doing, moves up to the top lane to take that turret, they already have a lot of members moving onto that side, a lot of wards popping up. Ramune is standing on one, and they will know about that ward, but check out what Remind's been doing. He's been sitting in this bush for at least a full minute at this point, waiting for someone to come up, and Ramune senses something weird is going on here. He doesn't see
Ramane's
him.
spidey senses are tingling.
But he's not even the elite. But here comes Evie on the backside of many of the teams. They try and get the stun onto Heretti, but he does flash out of it. A lot of damage coming out from the culling, but this fight's not over yet, as Evie's going to try and find some damage onto Neil and NT, but he's not able to find it. But they do manage to pick up the flash and the heal off of Heretti's Varus. That could potentially be the game changer if they do start to look for a fight. Now that Baron is on the table, we are going to start seeing a lot more movement in that general direction. That top turrets are probably not going to be around for a whole lot longer. But that is a large... Uh-oh. Tussle's getting caught up by Remind. He does manage to get the Blade Storm coming out. But here comes the teleport from Evie. Neo's in the wrong spot, but that is cancelled. It is cancelled.
Yeah. Really interesting. Evie would rather put the split pressure on the bot lane turret. Just wanted to ensure that gank was not going to continue. Very quick and easy decision from him. However, that does mean that Oppamen will have an advantage if they continue a split push style game. Oppamen will be able to join fights quicker than Evie will.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not sure that that's exactly what we're going to see, because let's just take another look at the champions that we do have available on Rampage's side. You have Tahm Kench with his Devourer. You have Tussle with that ranged stun. Ramune Syndra with a ranged stun. A lot of damage coming out from Utormiyashi's Lucian. And Lulu also just sitting around there. They have a lot of pick potential. But if we take a look at Unsold Stuff side, we see Varus, we see Katarina, we see Nautilus and Zyra. The only champion that could even be called a weak team fighter on Unsold Stuff is Lee Sin. So they're going to be looking to force objectives a little bit more, whereas Rampage is much more likely to ward up the jungles as much as possible and try and find man advantages wherever they can. But here we go. The Mountain Drake is available right now, and Rampage is the first team to start getting to that, and that'll be quick. That's going to be really big as they're able to move around a little bit faster. We've seen them a little bit faster on all the rotations, and if they can just get chip damage on all those turrets as they start moving around, that adds up very quickly.
Yeah, and it's really important too. Rampage has made fantastic use of this Lulu, being able to use Whimsy to sort of escort Yutori Mayasi around the map. Even only getting 1 or 2 or even 3 auto attacks with a shield on a turret at a time really starts to add up, and you're starting to see that as they continue to pressure the map just slightly ahead of USG.
Absolutely, and we do see, take a look at the inventories of all these players right now. Currently, 7 of the players have pink wards in their inventories, and 2 of them have multiple. Keep that in mind, teammates of mine in solo queue. Pink wards win games.
Absolutely. USG, they really would like to catch Rampage in transit, and so they're looking to deny as much vision as possible. If they can uh, catch a single member of Rampage, or even just the entirety of Rampage, right, with taking a full 5-on-5 fight. But they need to start something, or else they're going to be sort of torn apart by Rampage's excellent split pressure game.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a little bit difficult for them to even siege up some of these things. The Mountain Drake's not a huge shield, but here comes Evie again, trying to catch out Neo. Tussle and Evie are in the middle of the enemy team. They're going to get caught up with the Blade Flurry. Evie's going to have to pop that Gray health in just a moment. Takes a lot of damage with Wild Growth comes out. He's going to be kept alive for just a little bit longer. He's not got a whole lot of health left. Neo gets taken down as Unleashed Power comes out, but the Guardian Angel is going to keep him alive to fight another day. Tussle is in the air, and that might be all she wrote. The only things that happened, Evie almost got taken down and lost his Flash, and Neo lost his Guardian Angel, but they're going to start backing away. There's no real objectives for either team to take. Rampage is pinging towards the top side. This could be big. NT's going to run into Tussle in just a moment. Saves the pink ward.
Yeah.
Now.
And we saw Evie there, maybe a little bit aggressive.
Gets out.
We'll have to burn the Flash. Maybe a little bit too aggressive with the Abyssal Voyage. The anchor does not connect from Opperman, so both teams will go ahead and back off. I'd like to note that he did use that Abyssal Voyage without vision of the bush that he was running into, which is very unfortunate because he found not 3 members of USG, but all 5 trying to slap him down.
He did indeed, and Gray Health, Tom Kench is well known for being, a very, very tanky son of a Bayou man, but he's not going to survive that for a whole long. He does manage to save a lot of damage on his teammate Tussle. But, we saw the Rampage pinging up towards the top lane a little bit after that fight, and they got out of position, and it does end up costing them their mid lane turret. They were just trying to pick up one for themselves, but end up losing one in return. And this next fight could be a little bit hardy, especially now that Ramines does not have that flash on his Syndra. Not a particularly mobile champion.
Rampage going to go ahead and roam up to the mid lane. It doesn't look like USG is interested in defending this turret. Instead, they will likely try to push the mid lane to see if they can get an answer. Remine's still sitting up there, might be able to catch out Yutori Miyasi if he overstays, but it doesn't look like that's going to be the case.
Yeah, absolutely not. And it's interesting to me that, Rampage is just a little bit ahead of the curve right now when it comes to moving around and taking objectives. We saw it towards the beginning when they got a lot of damage on that bot lane secondary turret. They got that top lane turret more or less for free after trying to go at it in the mid lane when they lost their own turret. And now they're able to just kind of move around. They have, everybody has a time around dragon. That's not something everybody used to have. What a change, right? But
yeah,
they're starting to move around. They're starting to get vision, in comparable ways to their opponents. And one of the really easy ways to tell how the players think the game is going is to see where the vision is. And right now, Rampage has vision in Unsold Stuff Gaming side, but Unsold Stuff does not have vision in Rampage's side. So that means that whether or not they are, and I believe they are, they think they're behind.
I completely agree with you. And that has manifested itself on Rampage. They are doing their best to extend the lead. However, this is where things get a little bit tricky for them. With all of the outer turrets from USG taken out, Rampage has to be really careful about how they maneuver. If they overcommit to one side, a quick and early team fight with 2 Infernal Drakes, USG might be able to take one and sort of flip this game on its head.
Absolutely, and they're starting to clear vision a little in that side, and they are going to start it right now with Opperman down in the bottom side. They are seeing the pings coming out from USG towards it. They do see that ward go down, but it's already at half with that Mountain Dragon. They're going to be able to burn it down very quickly. We're going to have to see the teleport come out from Opperman in just a minute. They're going for the steal of 50-50. Does go over to Rampage, and they do pay for it with Neo's life, and that could be really big. This might be exactly what they needed to move forward.
Yeah, Rampage playing really decisively. We talked about how in the previous series between these players went into, pretty long series, but really just showcasing how they've grown over the course of the LJL, just able to pick up that Baron really quickly and now sieging into the mid lane.
Yeah, absolutely. They're moving in 5v4. Neo's GA isn't up when he'll come back up, and they're trying to get a little bit onto Apperman, which is an interesting choice, but with so many people coming up under the next dragon available in about 10 seconds, they are going to have to move towards that. They are going to be faster. NT Not getting a lot of damage down. But he is starting to build towards that Leandra's Torment. Unfortunately, we have been seeing a lot of damage supports, and it's another Infernal Drake.
Yeah, so uh, that will be a good sign for RP. They now know that there are no more. There's only 3 dragons of any one type will spawn throughout the game.
Mm-hmm.
They're happy to sort of even up that damage increase, and happy that USG isn't going to find a third one
And look at this.
later
Evie's
on.
going to go in 1v5. He's going to get taken down, kicked back into the team with the Dragon's Rage, and the Grey Health isn't going to be enough to save him. He has to flash out. The depth charge is going to pick him up. Tussle is finding a return kill onto Opperman, but that was disastrous for both of those players. Both the top laners end up going down for both Rampage and Unsold Stuff. But here goes Yutori trying to get a little bit. He just needs to get a little bit of damage onto NT. Flashes forward, gets a Black Cleaver stacks on a couple of members, but it's not going to be enough. But the turnaround is real.
Yeah, and so bold from Yutori Miyasi, just charging forward without a front line. Guy
Absolutely.
is super confident in his team, knows that he's got the support of Dara with the wild growth in his back pocket.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Rampage looking to siege the bottom lane. Don't really have the minions for it yet, though. They have to wait.
Yeah, absolutely. And Unsold Stuff knows that. It doesn't look like they're going to be doing anything right now. They're going back to base, potentially sacrificing this turret. Evie's going to pick up some nice farm for himself up in the top lane. And this gold lead is just starting to grow for Rampage. They're currently sitting on a 7,000 gold lead at, about the 31-minute mark.
Happy to go ahead and go back and spend that money. Tussle does pick up a Guardian Angel. One thing that I'd like to talk about Rampage's composition that we've seen happen time and time again, even though USG is the stronger team fighting comp, it's actually incredibly difficult to kill a single member of RPG. They just have very strong tools for keeping themselves alive. Evie and Tussle have abilities that either make them invulnerable or even like double their HP bars. On top of that, you have Dara supporting with a Redemption, a Locket, and a Wild Growth ultimate. So just a lot of HP. And even though USG should be winning these fights, they aren't winning it by enough to turn the tide.
Yeah, absolutely. And with only 6 kills to 3, there's not a whole lot going that way, but it's still manifesting as a large item lead for Rampage. We take a look at it right now. Their top laner, their jungler, their mid laner. Actually, no, I lied. Not their mid laner, but their ADC and their support are all a full item ahead of their counterparts right now. And that's really starting to manifest it. USG feels like they're in a spot where they can't really do a whole lot. And now with the teleport up for Evie, but not yet for Opperman, they're going to start moving towards this top lane in order to get things. Now, this could be very dangerous. They do have all 5 members of Unsold Stuff coming in here in the jungle. They're going to be able to fight it
Oh
out.
man.
Here comes Opperman, gets the dredge line down onto Yutori. Not going to be enough. Remind is stunned up very quickly. The Dragon's Rage going to kick him back right into the enemy team. Is going to be taken down very quickly. No, I lied. He's still alive, eaten up by that Evie. And this is exactly what we're talking about. Yutori cannot die. He's been living for so long. So much damage taken down by that Evie. They're keeping their ADC alive so well. And this is that trust you were talking about earlier. Flashing forward. Who needs flash when you have a Tom Kench on your team?
Right. Between all the shields and heals RPG can give Yutori, really allowing him to shine. And now that advantage is going to melt this turret. That should be an easy inhibitor for Rampage.
Absolutely. There's no way that Unsold Stuff can contest this. And with the first inhibitor going down at 33 minutes, that's going to give them a lot of opportunity to start moving around the map, start taking everything they were doing before. They're low now, but they're going to have to back. We're going to see this coming in again. Let's walk through this.
Yeah.
Opperman goes
So
through.
here we see.
Yeah, Opperman goes through, gets a depth charge on Yutori. He's kicked back. He's dredge lined in. Reminding gets some good damage on, but Evie just comes in, noms his teammate, and gets out scot-free. Enti's already gone down somewhere off on the side. I believe he was taken down by Syndra, but you can't kill. You can't kill Yutori, man. 5
Yeah.
deaths over 6 games now. It's not over, but still, if he just gets 1 death this game and averages 1 death over all 6 games, that's a stat that's hard to beat.
Yeah. And we saw Ramune, not afraid to pull the At this point in the game, Rampage is playing these team fights very smart. All they need to do in order to be successful is create a 5v4 situation and keep Yutori Miyase alive so they can continue to split push afterwards. And that's exactly what they've been doing in the last 3 fights. Ramune feels okay using the Syndra ultimate on a support because as long as they have a numbers advantage, it doesn't really matter at this point.
Absolutely. And here we go. They are going to start sieging up this bottom turret. Evie's taking a lot of damage. All that gray health. He's going to get the wild growth and pop his own giant shield. He's going to be able to walk out all right for now, but that could put a dampener on this push right here with your main tank is at half-life. When teleport not up for quite a while, he's going to have to sit around and just wait for a little bit. We might see the redemption coming out pretty soon in order to keep him at full life.
Yeah, it's tough. He does have that Abyssal Voyage, so he could to. However, with Dragon up in 18 seconds, Rampage is going to look to secure that objective. USG is in a tricky position because they just don't have the wards necessarily to contest these objectives anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. Good damage going down on Tussle. Good third of his life taken down, but it is an Elder Dragon available now, and Baron is coming back up, so the 2 win conditions that Riot has built into the game are just available right now. And with Alphaman going back, he has to deal with that Super Minion wave back in their own base. It looks like Rampage is going to start this, and here comes the rest of Unsold stuff, but around the side, it looks like they're going to be going for a steal. This is not the positioning they want for a full-on fight. Neo's going to have to jump over. They do have access to Blast Cone. Teleport comes in from Opperman. They're going to start coming over the wall. Evie hasn't taken a lot of damage, but Neo's on the Baron right now. Cullen coming out from Utoria on the opposite side, but Baron's going very low. 1,300 health, 1,500 health. It's going to go down, and it is picked up by Tussle, and there's so many members here in the fight for Unsold stuff. They're not going to be able to get out, but they both flash over. Tussle's going to try and follow them. Gets a lot of damage down, going to get stunned up, but Utori on the backside, getting 1, getting 2. That's 2 kills. This could be a triple kill, and that is a triple kill coming out. That could be the quadra kill. There's only NT left. And here comes the Phage coming out from Utori. Gonna get a lot of damage. He's gonna chase NT around. Oh, no, he's not. But they are gonna take Evie and Tussle into the back line. And Unsold stuff are going to lose game 1. Rampage does manage to pick up game 1 in this best of 5 series, 11-3. Utori Mayashi has not died this game, so 5 deaths over 6 games as they move into game 2. We're going to have to see what Unsold stuff can do to bring it back.
Yeah,
go up 1-0.
I can't talk enough about Rampage's decisive decision making, knowing that they're ahead and they're willing to go ahead and stretch this advantage, able to take the Baron fight. Even knowing that Neo is sitting around waiting for a steal, USG looked a little bit hesitant this game. You know, they didn't pull the trigger quickly enough. They had all these playmaking champions in Nautilus and Lee Sin and Katarina, but weren't able to find the fights that they needed to secure a victory here. And Rampage has to be feeling pretty good, being up 1-0 and 1 game closer to the finals.
Absolutely. And I just, and I don't want to really put it on to any one player, but it feels hard for me to not, say that Opperman had a couple things that he just really needed to do. There was the very first teleport fight down at the bottom where he teleported in, had to flash out, tried to get some stuns up onto Utori down there as he goes in with the Dreadline, but he ends up hitting a minion with it. That's not going to do you any good. In the fight where he had with Evie in the top lane where they were 1v1ing over long periods of time, misses the Dreadline again. And it's just not, that's just not going to cut it at this level of play when you're trying to become the champions for your region. You have to be able to make those small micro plays in order to get your team ahead, and that really came back to bite them.
Yeah. Both these players, again, playing to make it to the #1 match on Friday. The winner of this team does play the reigning champions, so they're really looking forward to that that potential to unseat.
Detonation as they move forward, and it is it was a very good game, like you said. Rampage looked very decisive throughout the entire game so far, just getting those minor advantages very quickly, going for things, able to rotate. And I just can't talk enough about how strong of an ADC relative to the region Utori is here in Japan. He had ended that game 4-0-5 on the Lucian, flashing forward several times into the enemy team, a little bit like something you might expect from some of the well-known ADCs like Double Lift here in the United States, just flashing forward, super confident in his own abilities, super confident in his team's ability to back him up, and Rampage is happy to do that. We saw that Dara getting all those shields, Evie coming in, saving him. Like, after he's kicked in, depth charged, and blade flurried, he just walks out fine because his team knows how strong he is, how strong of a player, how strong of a champion he had, and just power through everything
Yeah.
else.
And the more I think on it, I really appreciate Rad's choice to last pick Tom Kench. We saw that champion being incredibly effective. Uh, even though there were a couple ultimates, a couple of Abyssal Voyages that Evan taken, where he took a ton of damage before his teammates really arrived to help him assist the fight. They made a composition that initially looked like maybe a standard sort of team fighting pick composition into a protect the Lucian comp, right?
Absolutely.
With just that singular pick, they gave Yutori Mayase so much freedom to really manipulate the game, and he pulled it through.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think we're going to take a couple of minutes break right now. As you see up on your screen, we got about 6 minutes until our next game starts. But for anybody who's watching us, it's a pleasure to have you. This is Joshua Joshi Howard,
And Zane Zen Zen Nelson.
and we'll see you in a couple minutes.